let's talk about Dillon Danis, Logan Paul, and Nina Agdal, because Nina Agdal has kind of like... Logan Paul's going through a lot right now.
It's actually been a minute since Dillon Danis posted this, but he posted this video of Nina Agdal. I don't know how he attained it, who sent it to him, but he has internet sleuths everywhere that found this video of her.
The morning?
Yeah.
Let's watch, let's share it with the audience.
It's very graphic.
Here we go.
By the way, I'm very proud of myself. This is the longest I've ever gone without sex since I started. Obviously, it's driving me crazy. I am struggling. I need penis inside of me. Amazing. ASAP. Like, all I want is like a big fat sausage just destroying my body. So, if any of you guys know a good dick that doesn't have STDs on it,
See, she doesn't care how tall you are.
right here. By the way, I'm very...
Do it. Okay.
Out of control.
Well, I mean, it's true, because remember, the big part of this was that they make a big deal about her making him wait.
Yeah, so, I mean, presumably she did not make a lot of guys in her past wait, and for an unspecified amount of time, she did make Logan Paul, her now fiancé,
It was like 2
wait.
weeks. She gave him head the first time they met.
Dude, and he was talking about that like she was like out of a convent.
It wasn't.
What is the state of modern women?
I mean, I don't. Was he trying to sell her off as some kind of like trad wife to his audience?
She's so traditional.
When he was on Impulsive, his co-host was asking them about it, and he basically made it seem like he waited a long ass time, and I was like,
but
how long is a long time for people these days?
On that same show, and I had, because I watched that, and as soon as I finished watching that episode, I got a couple of these. I remember calling Linda, and I'm like, I realized what my problem is. I don't like hearing women openly talk about sex and like what they enjoy or like needing
we're friends,
or whatnot.
and we would never be like,
we would. I would never
say this. I would never say this to like.
I feel
hey,
like that.
I need a big...
That's like part of where
I think guys assume you guys do that, though.
No,
absolutely.
I know, yes,
there's women that do.
Yes,
there's women that do. But
yes.
I've realized that the minute that I see a woman talking that openly about sex, chances are they're usually very open with their sexuality, where they're probably hoes. And listen, it is what it is. I think that the misconception is the following: that because she's a hoe, she's less worthy of this guy that's considered high value by their metrics. Yeah. He's rich, he's famous, he's got the clout. So they see all of that and they're like, oh, well then that guy, because it's based off this internet echo chamber that they're in, that guy should end up with like, you know, with a virgin, and she should be pure, and he's
as
got
if
access.
Logan would ever make sense with that type of woman.
So then on that same episode that he tried to sell her like some kind of convent girl that made him wait for months, he also says
2 weeks. I thought it must have been like 3 months. Like 3 months is considered a long time for modern people now.
Maybe
and
not
like
2 weeks, but
2 weeks.
3 months. No, 2 weeks is not a long time at all.
Like that's basically a stranger.
He makes the comment on that podcast where he's like, "Oh, Nina could suck the chrome off a tailpipe," and it's like. That right there should tell you that this guy does not care what anyone...
And doesn't care what other people think of her, more importantly, which should raise a red flag to her, but...
More importantly, and despite what any of these red pillars or men say, there are certain type of men, not to be confused with all men, because I know this really triggers them, like Logan Paul would be an example, who find Nina to have more value because she has slept with people like Leonardo DiCaprio. Because now you get to tell your boys that you're dating a model. And he actually said it on that podcast. We both watched the podcast at the same time and then called each other to talk about it, where he was like, you know, basically saying like, I had a crush on her since I was like 19 years old. I was 19 years old. He still hadn't made it on YouTube. He still didn't have the money or anything. And he said, I was watching her on the Super Bowl commercial and this Arby's or the Burger King commercial, Nina Agdal. You know, she's 31.
Wait,
so
Burger King commercial?
She's been
No, she did a Hardee's commercial. You know how they always have the hot girls in the Hardee's commercials?
During the Super Bowl.
Hot girls in commercials is like a thing of the past now, so I didn't know that.
Well, this was when Logan Paul was 19 years old.
Ago, yeah.
How old is he now? 29?
It's like 28.
Okay, so almost 10
so.
years
It's been
ago.
a while.
10 years ago, the Super Bowl still had hot girls.
Like the GoDaddy commercials back in the day.
You know? But he certainly doesn't like... He's brags about his girl. He doesn't consider her to be a hoe or promiscuous based on the man that she slept with in the past. That's him. I'm not saying your audience or men shouldn't do that, but here's the thing. It's like, look at the Andrew Tate videos of him in Croatia on his mega yacht. Do you think that all the girls that he invites over are pure virgins? Like, would your parents be okay? Like, my mom is still wondering where I'm at right now. She literally had me text her where I was staying at here. Yeah. And she's like, why were you there? Like, she was like, who are you traveling? Yeah. Like, I don't know about you guys, but if I went on a trip with Andrew Tate on a mega yacht, my mom is going to think that I'm an escort.
Yeah.
So these high value men,
if you're going to Dubai or you're going to Ibiza, buy your these
high value men are not inviting some pure convent girls to come fly with them to Dubai or to or go on yachts.
They're hoes.
Well,
are there actually guys who see value in dating a girl that banged a bunch of
let's watch the TikTok. That
doesn't seem real to me. That doesn't seem real to me.
It's not about that. It's not. I just don't think that the hyper awareness that the red pill gives to body count. I just don't think.
I think we should watch Linda's TikTok about this subject.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Lynn. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
About this exact subject.
There are certain things in life that are basic realities. The sky is blue, the grass is green. Once you turn 30, the hangovers are horrible, and men love hoes. Now, whenever I say this, people jump off their seats. Oh, what are you talking about? Men don't love hoes. We don't love them right through whores, body count, blah, blah. The best example happening right now is Nina Agdal and Logan Paul. She's a public figure. Pictures of her with different men, including Leonardo DiCaprio, her ex-boyfriend, some model, have been around for years. Do you think that Logan Paul cared about her past before he proposed to her? Allegedly, her ring is worth $1 million. I don't know if it's true or it's not true. If you are hot enough, a man is not going to care about your past. This does not mean that I promote being a hoe. This does not mean that I am promiscuous or promoting that lifestyle. It's just a basic reality. It could be an uncomfortable reality. You may not like it, but it's a reality.
Okay.
And it's a reality that we've seen. Look, no man is going to want to admit that they like hoes because no man gets into it. They're not like, oh my God, she's a hoe. I love her. That's not true. That's not how it works. What's the problem? Hoes have been around a lot of men. And because they've been around a lot of men, they know how to make men feel special. So whether it's because they're cooking them a nice meal, checking in on them,
they like
doing
the elaborate
nice things for them.
Of it all.
Well, they know how to treat a man. This is just the reality of it. Hoes are going to know how to, whether it's in the bedroom, in the kitchen, they're going to support you. They're going to encourage you because they're experts at this. This is what they do. And I don't think that enough men on the internet that maybe don't have as much access to women understand how far that goes. Men want to be made to feel like kings amongst other men. And hoes have a keen ability to do that. And because of it, it's not like they're with a woman and they're like, oh, she's a hoe, she's a 10. Yeah. They're just going to fall in love with the woman that makes them feel the most special. Mm-hmm. And if that girl happens to be beautiful and stunning, but it also happens that she has a past, chances are, even if you ask her what her body count is, it's probably going to be a lie. So that's a horrible way of being able to tell. It's a horrible way to tell if a woman's been around. The only way that you can really tell is by watching the way that a woman behaves. Right. And if aside from that behavior, she's also good to you or whatnot, and you decide to date her because she makes you feel good, I think that the red pill underestimates how often that happens.
So I guess what we're saying basically is like, it's not their past that the men love, it's these other aspects of them.
It has
absolutely. All that they've learned from their past.
It's like if they're hot and if they're pleasant to be around, and if frankly from being around so many men have learned how to please them, like and be exactly what they want. If a woman lives for male validation, not like that's right or anything, that's a bad thing, then she'll be pretty good at, seeing what makes them tick and what motivates them.
Yeah, I think the hosts just understand men better.
But like, from my position, I'm arguing like that the women who still have a chance to make the choice not to have the hoe present. Right. Let's prevent your hoe present and stop complaining about all these hoe pasts, because you can't take back the past.
Right.
Correct.
And here's the thing, like no man is going to want to wife down a girl or be with a girl that's gonna like these things are coming out now for Nina, but I'm sure like no guy is gonna be like, yeah, like I want to, suck a big whatever she said sausage and be that explicit and or talk about her sex past. I think that's something that's fair to say, right? Like guys wouldn't like that. However, there's girls that have that whole energy that the guy's not necessarily gonna ask about her past that explicitly. Like, what are you gonna do? Tell me every single partner you slept with, the amount of bodies. There's a lot of people that are very young on this chat, but if they went out there in the real world and started dating, it would be pretty intrusive to ask a guy or a girl on the first date or even on the second date how many people you've slept with. It's fair if you want to do that. I'm not saying not to do that because guys get mad. Well, we need to have standards. Good for you. Have all the standards that you want. If you want to marry a virgin, if you want to marry a girl with 2 bodies or less, have the standards that you want.
So it's like, right? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to college? How many men have you done? It's
right.
Like third question in. Third question in.
It's just not realistic. That doesn't happen outside of the internet.
So
that doesn't happen. And we never wanted to be confused with the fact that we don't think that modesty is a great quality for a woman to have. We don't. Of course, purity is something that men value. Absolutely. No man. I mean, in reality, no man wants to date an OnlyFans girl or all these things, knowing that they're a woman.
Miami? All the OnlyFans girls in Miami are married or have boyfriends.
But I'm talking more so about the majority of men do value grace and do. And the problem is that now this RP shit has really drove it to an extreme. When you hear Pearl say like, if you're not a virgin, then you're a whore, and it's like, well, that's just not realistic because the majority of people aren't going to fall into that, and most women are not whores. Another thing that we talk about also a lot is turning hoes into housewives. That people are like, that can happen. We know again, and defining hoe, right? Because we define hoes by a woman that's promiscuous and sleeps around with many men. These days, it seems like hoes can just be defined by anything. If you're listening to the internet, if you wear the wrong thing, you're a hoe. If you take the wrong kind of pictures, you're a hoe. To me, a hoe is still the old school definition of being a hoe, which is that you are promiscuous and you sleep around. And the truth of the matter is that there's girls that are hoe by this new definition that are maybe out at the clubs, or maybe they dress sexy, or maybe they even go on a yacht with Andrew Tate, that are going to turn 25 at some point. They're going to find a nice guy. They're going to settle down and they're going to have normal lives. And nobody's like, oh, that was a hoe. Nobody's thinking that. A lot of these girls end up having normal, average lives. And we think that the RP does a great disservice to women, where it makes them feel like if you made mistakes in your early 20s, you're screwed. There's no value to you and nobody's ever going to see you that way. As opposed to encouraging women, like you said, Mary, to embrace these more modest and traditional lifestyles, because the outcome that you're going to have is better. Not shaming them, just showing them a better outcome.
None of these people, including all the guys in the chat, none of you have access to supermodels. Let me repeat that again. All of you don't have access to supermodels.
Unless, you can correct us and tell us which one you're dating if you are.
On YouTube,
There's
on a
winner
Friday. None of you have access to supermodels. So you don't even get to have the choice to turn them down for having too many bodies or being hoes, because you don't have that option. You're going to have to choose from the pool of women that's available to you. So that's something else that these men don't
got one
understand.
from Gordon Shumway. Finally, some ladies that actually give a realistic perspective. I'm sick of the ultra man-hating feminist and the non-realistic red pill manosphere. I'm going to check out your show. Thank you, ladies.
And that's the long and the short of it, right? Is the most successful people in these spaces are the ones who push the most extremes of.
You don't care who you piss off.
Yeah. Yep. So, but
Dillon Danis's baby mama right now must be kind of shocked that mere hours after the birth of their child, he is posting memes about Logan Paul.
Stop it.
He just had a baby. Is this what he's really doing with his child?
I love it.
He just had a baby,
my hope
and
is that somebody else made it.
This is an edit where Logan Paul is the baby and Nina Agdal is the mommy.
But where do you stand on this? Like, do you think that he's making a bad decision marrying Nina?
Oh, I fall back in the same I have an ironclad position on all this stuff. I don't care.
If you're a Paul brother, you're extremely
do what you want to do, bro.
Both of the Paul brothers are like emotionally, mentally volatile people who are not normal, who most people cannot relate to. They probably would have a failed marriage no matter who they found.
No matter who it was.
Well, we would hope not, but the likelihood is.
Well, they have to find somebody that matches their lifestyle. That's like, so there's one personality on the Manosphere that we actually had on as a guest. His name is Sterling Cooper. He's a former porn star, and he's constantly advocating about finding pure women. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't want my virgin daughter dating a former porn star.
Would you date a former porn star?
No.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go.
Not even a question.
Hello.
It was so. Then again, it's like nobody talks about compatibility in these red pill circles. It's like those girls, those Instagram models
Yeah.
have men and husbands, because a lot of them are married.
A lot of them
that,
are married,
that
yeah.
complement their lifestyles.
Yeah.
And
Like I was sitting next to this red pill dude on whatever, and he seems to think that after his philandering and passport broing, that any girl who comes from a similar background to me would ever give him the time of day, and it just isn't true. They're usually dating like guys their own age who are kind of sincere and dorky
Right.
and share their values and their faith, who they meet through church or through social events or through school.
Yeah.
Again,
Like those
this is
are
all-
what, and I know them, so I
Correct.
know who they're picking, and it's not dudes with fake Rolex.
Correct, and it's also, that's another thing too, which is the way that high value is defined by the RP is just not a reality.
Right.
If your definition of a high value man is somebody who drives a Bugatti, who makes millions of dollars, and who's over 6 feet tall, and you're talking about less than 1% of the population, and I believe that there's many good men out there, more than just 1%. I think of high value of somebody like my husband. My husband's the kind of man where if something breaks in my house, I don't need to call somebody to come repair it in my house. My husband's gonna take care of that. My husband finds pleasure in being the main breadwinner in our home. My husband likes being a man. He likes fishing and catching our dinner. Those things to me equate a high value man, a man that believes in long-term marriage, a man that doesn't think that it's okay for men to cheat. Those things to me are much more valuable when we're describing high value man than, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't consider a high value mate Andrew Tate. Like her being one of 7 taking selfies in a Bugatti, that's not winning if I was a mom looking out for my children. What would be winning is if she found somebody that was compatible to her, that if she was a virgin, the person she was with was also a virgin, that they were discovering that together, maybe even getting married young and having children and starting a family. That seems significantly more high value to me than being one of 7 girlfriends to Andrew Tate.
Look, at the end of the day, all of this stuff, especially dating advice channels, it's entertainment, and
Right.
it should be conceived of and viewed as entertainment and not a guide for life. My hope would be that you have actual men, or if you're a lady and you're looking advice from other women in your life, that you can get advice from on these things. I think it might actually speak more to a disconnect between us and our parents in a certain respect.
Well,
That,
but also, like, between generations,
Jordan
like,
Peterson filled a void for men.
Different
that is
generations
obviously
aren't
more-
talking to each other anymore, and when I was going through a period where I felt kind of lost in life, I went to older women to talk about it.
Yeah, and right now I just feel that a lot of people are lost, and they look to the internet for help. And there's this old video that I mentioned earlier. I said if you look at a lot of these things, people selling courses like that, to me it screams of like it used to be sold on the back of tabloid magazines. Kind of like if you take like a New York Times headline and it looks ridiculous, and you don't think it's ridiculous, what you do is you take that exact headline and you just paste it onto a National Enquirer. Suddenly it looks ridiculous because you associate the National Enquirer with ridiculousness. Now it's like all this stuff's online and people are just lost and they're a little bit lonely and they're looking for advice. And you have to be wary of anybody who's creating a product, whether that's through view count, whether that's through sponsorships with brands. I'm not saying that those people are inherently evil. I'm saying that they're businessmen in a capitalist society. That's the product they're selling you.
Yep.
You can go into that. You might get useful information. Like, I don't know. I don't watch the content. You might get something useful that helps you with your life. I can't speak to that. But you should always be aware as to whether you're paying attention to something that's either entertainment or something to actually view as information to better your life. And the sad fact of the matter is most of it falls on the entertainment category.
And unfortunately, it's very predatory entertainment that does fuel itself off the insecurities of men to keep itself alive and going. Like I see the comments from men, like that they'll comment under these podcasts and they're like, just trying. Like, I've been hurt. You hear them. They've been hurt. They've been let down. Like, women, like Linda had said it best. She's like, some women are demons. Like, it's the reality.
That was bigger.
Women can be
like
really awful.
The MGTOW movement in the early 2016 to 2017. Like, you hear these horror stories of men left living in these small apartments on a blow-up bed because the wife took the, and again, even if you're watching this, you're still watching something where you're only getting one side of the story. Am I inclined to believe him? Yeah, I guess, because why would he lie about something like this if he's not making a ton of money, if he's just making a video on his own? But, you know, the fact of the matter is there's on both, from both of the sexes, you're going to meet bad people, and content like that sells. It's why we cover so many stories. I had a story the other week of like a woman who like Mary didn't want to cover it because it was so gross about this woman who she's basically like a fill-in wife. She makes like $30,000 per person
like a virtual
to sit there with a guy and pretend to like watching football.
$200,000 to be pretend a wife?
She's like $30,000 a person. And this lady, she's doing this. It's like those stories are inherently ridiculous and therefore interesting to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
Which means that.
Uncommon.
So it's promoted through the algorithm, and you've got these tech companies that want to keep you lonely and addicted to your phone and to the internet anyways. So I'm less inclined to believe that it's one big bad evil and more a bunch of societal factors that have come together to push the sexes apart.
But I do think it's clear that there is some kind of coordination to split the genders apart right now. Like the same way that we had a fabricated race war in 2020, I feel that we are seeing a fabricated gender war that we're stepping into now. And, like I had mentioned earlier, my bigger deal is that I find that this is significantly more destructive than feminism, because I am a firm believer that societies are built by men, that men are the leaders of society. And if men are tricked into believing that their greatest enemy is the female presence, then our society truly is doomed.
I don't think I think there's so much feminist messaging in the rest of society. I think that feminism and identity politics going the other direction have embedded themselves it's burrowed so far into our education system, into our entertainment, into every aspect of society. I think that as bad as you may think it to be, I think it's merely it's a reactionary,
like a course correction.
It's a poor course correction, but I don't think it has any chance of undoing the 50 years of whether we're talking about the Duluth model of divorce.
It's 100 plus.
There's just too much of it. I think it's more we ourselves are also still algorithmically focused on it.
But whatever it is, it's demonic, and they're all going to hell.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.